With the update on September 15, 2020, there were a lot of confusion for the new legend set effects as well as the choices for the endgame inker. So for today's videos, I'm going to cover the new legend set as well as demonic and goddess inker for your endgame setup. So first thing first, you do want to talk to a NPC called Telis in Fedemians. Go ahead and click on the craft legend equipment and scroll down the category from the top left corner. You will see that there will be a Dysnai equipment as well as Legenda Glacia equipment. These are the new legend equipment, and you probably have a lot of questions which equipment that you should be building for your characters. So for Dysnai Savinose, you need at least 16 Berkenite and 40 magic stone to craft the weapon. Now for the armor, you're gonna need a Berkenite and 20 magic stone. Basically half of the cost of the original weapon itself. Now for the Legend Dysnai Savinose gear, it's actually pretty good for the Dimension Collapse Point, Challenge Mode as well as Division Singularity. So to make it short, Dysnai Savinose is really good for PvE content. As for the other legend equipment, which is called Glacia, what you need is 2 Berkenites, 40 magic stone as well as 24 herb Glacia. Now current Glacia is pretty cheap right now. This goes for 5 up to 6 mils per pieces on the market. However, that is roughly total of 140 all the way 160 mil depending on how you want to buy this item. As for the Legend Glacia armor, you're gonna need 1 Berkenite, 20 magic stone and 12 herb Glacia. So technically it's half of the cost of the original weapon itself. So same thing as with the Dysnai Savinose. I also want to point out is that Legend Glacia equipment will also provide extra damage and damage reduction for endgame content like weekly raid boss as well as raid dungeon. So if your party focus on doing hard mode Imponia and Whitefish Force for normal mode as well as the hard mode, then you might want to consider investing into Glacia equipment since it's going to be better for your character that focus on endgame content. Another thing I do want to point out between the Dysnai Savinose as well as Legend Glacia, Dysnai Savinose does not or capable of getting the random status inker. You actually have to re-roll your equipment in order to get a perfect status of your choices. Now for the Legend Glacia equipment, it's basically the same as Varna equipment, so technically you can actually transform your random status inker and fixed status inker into the Legend Glacia. In my opinion, if you already have the random status inker on your Varna equipment already, then you might want to consider getting the Legend Glacia equipment, so this way you can transfer it over and don't have to worry about re-rolling your equipment. Now if you don't have random status inker and you want to focus on PvE content, then you might want to consider investing into this Dysnai Savinose equipment. Since there will be a lot of players going for the Legend Glacia equipment as you can see here, and then there will be a lot of potential that this equipment will have low potentials then at a low cost. For example, like the crossbow version, this one had 1 potential with 90 mil. That is pretty good by the way, but yeah, if you consider the cost of getting Glacier Hearts, which you need 24 Glacier Hearts to craft the weapons and then some Berkenite and Magic Stone, this is technically half of the cost of the making the weapon itself. If you notice for the rod as well, this was plus trial, so that's not bad at all. And then there is the one-hand spear which nobody uses it and it's only cost 50 mil. So if you're using a one-hand build with the spear like a TTW build, this is actually pretty good as well. And then you will see some equipment goes around 120 mil, 130 mil, and 140 mil. Now, I'm not gonna say these are cheats, but I would say these are affordables in terms of investment if you want to consider getting a Legend Glacia weapon for your character. Oh yeah, in order to get Berkenite, you actually need to get it from Challenge Mode and Division Singularity. Challenge Mode has a really low chance of getting Berkenite. However, if you're doing Division Singularity, you have a higher chance of getting it because it's gonna give you the fragments every single run. I also want to point out is that you need at least 20 Berkenite fragment in order to craft the 140 crafted Berkenite. However, if you don't want to farm Berkenite, you can actually buy it from the market for extremely cheap price. As you can see here, this one goes for 1.3 million and the fragment goes for 75k. Alright, once you already decide which legend equipment that you're going for, you have to decide which legend set that you should be optimizing toward your legend equipment. Now the first one is called Soul. What it does, it has a skill called Road of Soul, damage the enemy around your character and knock them out for 1 second, so which is like a stun. After that, it increases damage output by 150% for 5 seconds. The skill attack is around 10,660% with 20 second cooldown as well as 30 area attack ratios. Now with the plus border still, the damage increased effect duration by 3 more seconds. By far, this is the best legend set for bursting damage at the moment right now, but if you prefer using Mucus, that would be another option as well for Varna equipment. Other than that, if you're using the new legend set, you might want to consider using Salt. For the next set effect, it's called Ezra. This is a PvP set effect, which is really good for GTW as well as Gen Fuse. What it does, it had a skill activation called Ezra Composure, which receives debuffs that require advanced removal for 25 seconds. You also get another passive buff, which is called Ezra Wills. Every time your character receives a debuff, it increases the damage and healing by 20% per stack, and it can go up to 5 stacks. It also shares composure durations, and you can increase the duration with plus burst of steel by 10 seconds. Alright, for the third stat effect, which is called Bellinta, it had a skill called Bellinta Offering, which increases damage output by 175% for 30 seconds, but you have plus your border still and change the damage increase effect by 250%, which is really high by the way. It recovers HP by 20% of HP recovery rate when attacking with a slash, strikes, or pierce type skills. Recovery 10% of HP recovery rate when attacking with auto property skill and basic attacks. So this is really good for auto attack build as well. Now the healing effect has a cooldown of 1 second. In my opinions, between Bellinta as well as False is more focused on burst damage consistently compared to Bellinta. If you're an SR or maybe auto attack based, maybe Bellinta is going to be better for you. Now the next one is the most broken stat effect in PvP at the moment, which is called Ichors. What it does is immediately recovery 20% of maximum HP and increase damage output by 100% for 30 seconds. But if you have plus 3 border seal, it can give you 150% damage output. It increases the movement speed by 5, and whenever you kill somebody, it resets the cooldowns. I don't know about you guys, but resetting a stat effect skill is sound pretty broken. The next stat effect is a little bit weird, but it works so well for tanking compositions. So what it does that this is a PvE stat effect, which has a skill called Serity Challenge. It's a channel skill that forces monsters to attack your character, but it also increases your physical damage taken by 30% and increases the damage party by 100%. But if you have a plus your border seal, it increases the party damage by 150%, so that is extremely good. It lasts 20 seconds, it has a 100-second cooldown, so you can say that if you build a paladin, you can actually use barriers and kind of force monster away from your character while using Celerity. The last stat effect is actually pretty fun and quite effective in PvE and PvP. It's called Rarity. What it does is that it moves a select party member to your place and recover your HPs. It can be used on target who are unable to move as well. So if you think about this, if you're doing wash in normal morning pony and somebody's forgot to run to the corner, you can use the skill and swap their place and they're already in corner and they can just run around. It's really good by the way. Also, it has plus your border seals, it increases the cooldown by 10 seconds. Alright, the next one is going to be Demonics and Goddess Ichors. I'm gonna cover the Demonic first. For the Demonic, you need at least 10 of these in order to craft 1 peace stones, and then you need 2 peace stones to craft the recipe. Alright, for the Goddess Armor, you will need 6 Stone of Divine Power from episode 12 map. In order to get this stone, you will have to clear Division Singularity. And then you need at least 1 stone from each map, 6 stone in total to craft the Goddess Armor stones, and then you need another stones, a total of 12 stone to craft the recipe. That is a lot if you think about it, because right now on my screen this thing costs you 34 mil just for 1 stone. The highest one is actually 50 mil. I remember part of the Shichen stones cost you around 55 mil, so that is huge. Okay, you're not done there by the way. After you get your recipe, you need this in order to craft the recipe. You need at least 20 Mystic Stone Paste, 20 Goddess Glacia, 10 Plutonium, and 1 Arcstone Fragment to craft Arqueniums. You will need this in order to craft the Demon God Armor or Goddess Armor. Once you have 2 Demon Stone, you have the option of choosing recipe, which includes Zebu, Ktos, and then Reckless Gambler. Zebu is a universal Ichors, is a universal recipe which you can use it on any classes, which includes Cleric, Swordsman, Wizard, Scouts, and Archer. Now what it does, it gives you a 20-second buff when using Gung-Ho, Concentration, God Insane, Double Check, or Magic Shield. It does not work in PvP, but increases damage by 30% per equipped part, which is really good by the way, so a total of 120%. The next one is Summoner based Ichors. This one is really good for wizard builds like Sorcerers and then Necromancer. It does not work really well with through summoning plan, so don't even bother to use it. You can get up to 60% damage buff, so which is really nice. The last one is WD Miko based Ichors. Do not use this unless you're using WD Mikos. What it does, it gives you up to 60% summon damage, which is really good, but you cannot stack up when installation all. You can only have 1 statue at a time, so technically a statues of the Asherines, Lima, Silent statues, SP reduction statue, and in all a total of 5 different statues. Background does not include it by the way, so do not use Vascarine. Alright, the next one is going to be Goddess Armor recipes. Yes, this is the most expensive one on 3 of server at the moment right now, and congratulations if you manage to get one. You have to decide which one you're going for. The first one is Valkyries. What it does is it gives 100% damage buff per equipped part for 3 seconds for the shield skill by the way. Whenever you block with the shields, it's really good for Pelvesta in my opinions, but I'm not sure entirely about most of the swordsman's build because majority of the swordsmen at the moment right now going for Lancer, Dragoons, and then meta DPS with Blossom Blader. So this is really optional if you're tanking and DPSing with shield. It also decreased the cooldown of the shield skill by 5% per equipped part, so that is really good. The next one is going to be Stamina. Stamina is a really good anchor for auto attack builds like SR and then Champlain monks. Champlain is getting buffed in the future, so this anchor might shine further. So what it does, it gives you a single buff which is stackable and lasts 15 seconds. Whenever attack with a skill, auto and basic attack when it hit accurately. So technically you need to hit the monster or the boss with a skill. You cannot use the same skill by the way in order to get the stack, and increase the basic damage by the number of equipped part and number of single stacked by 20%. So that is really good by the way. Next is going to be Dahlia. Dahlia is the best anchor for channel skills classes for, so for example, like Cruciator with Sacris and then Exorcist with the Rubik. So this is really good. It gives so much damage that you might want to consider using this. Now, first thing first, there is another set. This is Gabija. Gabija is a casting base. Casting skill technically is the one where you channel and you release it. So that is really good. It increases so much damage as well as cooldown reduction. But it's really dependent on the build combination that you're going for, especially for the casting skills like Kadikazor from Exorcist. If you have another casting skill, maybe like a Paladin Demolition, that one is good as well. Alright, the last goddess recipe is going to be Divine Enigma. What it does, it increase healing done by 7.5%. It also increased the healing urchin target by 25%. So technically, you're healing 75% instead of 50%, which is really good. It also increased movement speed by 1 per equipped part. Now, what I do say is the Skia Compassion's anchor is much better than this one, in my opinion, in terms of cost effective. But if you're a healer and you're rich, get this. Also, there is a whole list for the channel as well as casting skill. So if you're interested, I already included links in the video description below, so feel free to check it out. For the endgame option, you have a lot of choice here. You can either run Varnas or the new Legend equipment. In my opinion, Varna is still viable. It's just the only difference is that the new Legend Glacia have more defense and more attack. You can actually keep the Varna equipment and you replace the main weapon or the trinket. Just like we're doing right here, he's actually using the full attack set effect along with his main weapon, which is plus 21 Varna equipment, and all he replaced was actually his trinkets for extra damage boost. Now, if you want to focus more attack aesthetic and just replace a new weapon, in my videos where I cover the strongest swordsman in Calpeda, El Yomo is actually using the full attack aesthetic along with the trinket, and all he did was replacing his weapon and using the Divine Retribution art, which is really good by the way for burst damage classes. In my opinion, there are so many choices and alternatives for the endgame content as well as endgame setups. There are players who want to focus on 400% damage multiplier. There are players who want to focus on burst damage with attack and set effect. At the end, it all depends on your item choice and class builds. Anyway, that is all for this video. Thank you very much for watching. This is Satoshi once again, and I will see you all in the next videos. Peace out.